Hi guys. Patrick, Kate, after the impact of the first season, how do you approach this second one? With more calm after the experience or with more pressure after the success?
Um, Good question. We were just talking about this a few minutes ago. We were in serious pre-production while we were launching season 1 for season 2. So there was not really time for calm or time to worry about the pressure. We were mostly just kind of getting on with it. I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy when these guys were doing the full publicity junket. We were literally 2 weeks away from filming season 2, so it was. Yeah, we didn't really have time to reflect. We just, it came out, we started shooting.
Okay. You have changed New Zealand from Europe with various locations, including Spain. Why did you choose Tenerife and what specific settings are recreated on the island?
Really good question. We wanted, so one of the stories this season is a wizard called the Stranger and his Harfoot friends are on a journey east into the mysterious lands of Rune that have never been on screen before, and we wanted to find, expansive desert landscapes that looked especially strange and alien in Middle Earth, and the volcanic deserts there had a look that we thought was just spectacular.
Yeah. Additionally, it's a really, really great filming location. It's got a really good service company. The crews are really good there. So there's lots of incentives to come to Spain for sure.
And how was the experience of the series in Spain?
We had an amazing time. It was great. We worked with Sitfilm.
Sofilm.
Yeah. And they were lovely. They got us all the way.
They were amazing. They did an amazing job. It's a hard show, and they really pulled it out.
And Maxim.
Hello.
My first question for you is what Isildur we will see in this season? Will we begin to see something of this important destiny that he has in Tolkien books?
Yeah, well, I think Isildur's a very complex character because we have these signposts of where he ends up. We don't quite know how he gets there. In season 1, he was a boy desperate to leave the island kingdom of Numenor. In season 2, he is desperate to go home. I think he wakes up in a cave and has to fight for his life, and I think that sets the tone for the season. It's one where he has to learn new skills and he has to grow up kind of rapidly. So maybe you'll see a hardened sort of warrior by the end of season 2, and so it's coming. It's coming.
We were talking about this last night, actually. There's like a few real key moments this season where you see him starting to grow and change.
Yeah.
There's a moment where in the 3rd episode, where he finds a body of a fallen person from his home island, from Numenor, and he has no shoes and he has no sword, and he steals them from the body. And I think I always think of that as like a key moment of showing that this guy's ready to start cutting some corners.
Great. The first season was a huge success, the most watched series in Prime Video, but there was also criticisms from some of the more strict or hard fans. Do you listen to the fans when their criticisms are constructive, or do you prefer to stay away from that noise?
So I think any kind of criticism that's constructive is helpful and feeds into it. But the thing I think you have to think is, all of us and everyone we work with, like many collaborators, we are our own harshest critics. And so there's nothing, that anyone can say, constructive or not constructive, that's a criticism of the show that one of us hasn't already talked about. So in some ways, we really are our own worst critics. As far as, strict, super fans or we're just very lucky to have an audience. And that means you're going to have some people, who love it, some people who hate it, and hopefully a lot of people, somewhere in the middle. We're just happy to have any audience.
Okay. This second season is much more focused on Sauron. Why do you think he's one of the most popular villains in history? What makes him so special, so attractive?
Well, Sauron has a few things that are quite unique, actually, among the great literary and great genre villains. He's not about brute force always. He seduces you. He deceives you. He, takes your greatest strength and turns it into a weakness. He co-opts you into his own power. He tempts you. And I think those are things that, from the very beginning, we felt like maybe Tolkien was drawing on Milton and Paradise Lost and things like that. These dangerous, seductive villains, and I think there's something about that that's just compelling. You want to know what he's going to do next.
Sauron is the big villain, but he believes he's the savior of the Middle Earth. Will we, as an audience, come to understand him, to feel some kind of empathy from him at the end of this season?
I think those are two different things. So I think if audiences come to understand him, I give an enormous amount of credit to Charlie Vickers, who gives a spectacular performance. We're so excited for people to see it. And I think you do understand why he is the way he is to a certain extent and what he's after. But I think that's quite different from empathy. In fact, if you can really understand where a villain's coming from and know what's motivating them, that can make them even more frightening, because you know why what they want is so important to them. So I think yes, I think people will understand him more, but I hope they don't emphasize. I mean, he is the villain, and he does some horrible things this season.
Yeah, there's not much to get behind.
Yeah.
And can this kind of characters, the leader that justifies the accumulation of power, or
I like it better.
Sauron?
I think the cameraman probably does like it better.
Sauron.
Now there's only one eye.
Yeah. It's a sign.
It's a sign. We're talking about Sauron, so the darkness is here.
You're talking about accumulation of power.
Sí, sorry. If this kind of characters can be extrapolated to the real world as a kind of reflection.
I'll take a shot at it, but feel free to jump in. So Tolkien had this whole thing about Middle Earth. He wanted it to be, a world unto itself that is, timeless, not commenting on our world, his time, our time. We very much work to make the show the same way, because I think when you are so specific to the world you're building, it will eventually come back around and start to resemble the world we live in. But we're never coming from like an on-the-nosy, like we're never trying to comment on, the things that are happening today, although it sure feels like, if you read Tolkien's works, gosh, it almost seems like he could have been writing it yesterday.
One of the most anticipated things of the season is the wars against the orcs. Will the total war definitely break out, or
the war with yes.
orcs break out, or will you save the big battles for the next seasons? I think this is a good question.
I think this is a good question for producer Kate Hazell. Do we save the big battle for next season?
Oh no. There is definitely some good big battle stuff to come in this season. Yeah, you're gonna see some good action. There are a lot of orcs, and it reaches a good crescendo towards the end of the season for sure.
Episode 7.
Yeah,
Strap
it's a very big episode. It's action packed and it's very exciting.
And finally, how would you define the end of this second season? These big battles. What will fans find?
Maxim, do you want to spoil something? Do you remember what your last scene is of season 2?
I think it's full circle, but I think the final episode, I think you'll be left feeling hopeful. I think that resonates with a lot of Tolkien's work. Is that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's light and darkness, and I think that's sort of something that we're left.
Well, what I was going to say is you're on a ship.
Oh, I'm on a ship. I might be back on the water. Yeah.
Yeah. Maxim's back on the water. We won't give any more details than that. I think there's a lot of tragedy this season, but I think, as you say, hopefully we're ending on a note of hope without spoiling anything. But
spoilers, Okay, guys. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.